Hey, I got a couple minutes on this Sunday to respond to a young fella or somebody asked me to do a tutorial on how I made my Pump Wagonz, Snotling Pump Wagonz, and I'm trying to do this left is right, right is left, and this is the pump wagon up close, and got the spiky roller, which mine will always be equipped with. I have the sail, I add a little crow's nest there. It's got the boar's head on it. It has these massive wheels here, which I doubled up on the wheels, and then basically just stuck a bunch of snotlings on here that I had already painted. As far as the base of the pump wagon, not the base, but the actual bottom of the chariot thing here, these are just wooden planks. I guess we could start there. These are wooden planks that run, I believe I used 4 of them. I'm not sure really the diameter of those, but those, you can buy a whole box of those at, well, we have a store here called Packatans. It's a craft store. So you can buy those there. Most people are common. You can buy these popsicle sticks, are called craft sticks. These are bigger than what I actually used for this. I thought maybe you'd be able to see through, but once I put all this stuff on there, you really can't. So the foundation of the pump wagon was made out of craft sticks, a little smaller than these popsicle sticks, and I used 4 of them, and they took about 75 millimeters. And then I had these wheels, which again I doubled up the wheels here, so I glued those back to back. This would be a front, this here would be the front of a wheel, and then I had 2 of those, so I just glued them back to back. And I did the same with these wheels here. And then this is just an orc shield crest thing you're supposed to put on when you buy your box of orcs. They come with these little things that you can apply on their shields. So that's what those are. Those are my hubcaps. And then what I did is, this thing I'm pointing with, this is another skewer that you can buy from the same hobby store or a craft store, and it's pointed at one end, sharp like a pencil, and the other end is somewhat round. So what I did is I cut this off roughly as an axle, and I glued both of the wheels to either side of this, and then glued it to the underside of the craft sticks. So those were all together. So that's how I put the wheels on. Put the wheels onto this, glued them on, let them dry, and then put the wheels and axle and just glued the axle onto the bottom. I don't know if you can kind of see it on the underneath here. Not really. And that's it. And those are just some wheels that I found laying around. I had extras of, traded some for, or whatever. I had a whole bunch of them. And then these are crests again that serve as my hubcaps. So that forms the base. And then what I did was this mast here. This is another cylindrical craft stick, much like this one is here. And they come in different sizes. Here's another one. I had painted this silver for some reason. I don't know why, but painted this one silver. They're also called wooden dowels. This is another one. This one's particularly long. The price is on there. I can't even remember what it is, but the size should be on here too. 3/8. 3/8 is important because that is the size that I used for the spiky roller, but right now we're talking about this mast. So this mast I just cut, glued it to the very bottom of the wooden planking here. Actually, I didn't do that first, right? But eventually that's what I did. I created this whole mast section separately, and the little crow's nest I put it on at the very end. But ultimately when this mast was created, and I'll explain that, I glued that to the bottom. I have a little wooden cube here that the mast is also glued to. I'm not doing a real good job of showing you, but you can kind of see it. And that's what I used to mold these extra bore heads that I had laying around. So I had these extra bore heads. I glued it to that wooden cube, and then I used some green stuff around the edges of that to make it look like the head is kind of growing right out of the front of the chariot. So that got glued in there. Then on the spiky roller, this is this 3/8 wooden dowel here. I cut to approximately, what, maybe 41 or 2 millimeters long is what I used to cut it. So I had this wooden dowel. It was about 41 millimeters long. And then I drilled holes in it where these spikes are coming out. I drilled 1, 2, 3, then I rotated about 3/8 of an inch into 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and then rotated and drilled 1, 2, 3 more. And the reason why I drilled those is because these spikes that are coming out, again, same craft store, these are used for if you're having drinks, you poke a cherry through here, and or for some fruit. You could use these for a lot of things, but I use them for my little lance tips, spikes that are coming out of the spiky roller. The same craft store, they sell chain, so I got this chain, and what I did is I cut the wood first, I drilled the holes second, I inserted all my spear tips third, and then after that was done, then I just took this chain and just started looping it around the dowel all the way across. Then once that was done, then I have this other stuff, this part here, get my big finger out of the way, this part here that comes up is called soldering iron, stuff you use to solder with. It's metal that's really super bendy and pliable. So you take a hunk like this and you can bend it in about a million shapes. No big deal. But use this to solder with. So I took some of it, used a pair of pliers, squeezed it down real tight. Hey, my son's coming down now. I'm making a video here about this pump wagon. Squeezed down the soldering iron so it was no longer round but flat at one end. Squeezed it down, pushed it in, then brought the soldering iron out, bend it so that it goes underneath this boar's tusk here. And then I did the same with the other side. Oh, Sean's here too. Then, once this front end was assembled, then I attached it all to the tusk horn thing there. So I assembled this thing first, put these tusks on second, and then once the chassis was done with the boar's head and the wheels and all that was done, then I took this whole unit and tucked it up under there with some glue. Now the only thing that really gave me some problems with this was, I'm onto the sail, which is the third part, was a sail part. Now this I did separately. I had this wooden dowel rod here, cut it to the right length, and then I had that set aside. Then I took a couple of these skewers, and they have this same craft store, I'm not sure what it's called, some kind of fabric in here, but it was really fuzzy. So what I did is I used a little bit of Elmer's glue to make it a little rigid, and then I noticed there was a bunch of hairs sticking off of it, little long fuzzy, felt like hairs. So I took a lighter and just gently burned away all the extra fur and fuzz and stuff, and that gave me this. I poked the rod through one side, through the other side, and with that glue it kind of kept this shape, and I let that set overnight until it hardened a little bit. So I had this sail with these two rods going through the back, and then once this whole sail part was dry, then I took some green stuff and I attached this wooden beam here. Again, I'm upside down and backwards. I attached this wooden beam and this wooden beam attached to the long mast here. Then I let that dry. And then once that was dry, then I took this whole unit and stuck it down to there. Then once everything was done, then I went ahead and attached this crow's nest thing, which is really nothing more than, again, same craft store. It's a basket. This is about half its size. It came up a little higher and then actually had a handle. So I don't know, it was like for doll houses or something, but I cut all that down and looks like a little wicker crow's nest. Glued that on top with some green stuff at the very end. And then after that it was just painting the whole thing. So I hope I've made everything pretty clear. It's a 10-minute ramble here. And of course this is a chariot base, so that's there too. And if there's more questions, we'll get to that. But that's I just wanted to make sure I got this out for the guy who asked the question in the first place. So thanks everybody for watching. Rubicon out.